Historic day, guys. Historic day. Spain goes after its second star after 2010. Spain is world champions. Very few favourites have honoured their status this much after the doubts at the start of the group stage, as we all know. That group stage didn't mean anything, but Spain came out of it groaning. Once again, nobody managed to make this team doubt itself in this World Cup. Actually, no, sorry. Nobody managed to be superior to this team. This team led, dominated. And I'll tell you something, we didn't even see Spain's best team in this World Cup, but we saw the most consistent one. And that strength was enough, and it was superior to every other team. I say bravo, a second star, but above all, a footballing merit. And we're really in an era where that's not always the case. You know, football is cruel. It doesn't always reward what's most beautiful, what's most coherent. We've seen it sometimes with Real Madrid, know how to defend, launch the right counter-attack, kill the game. This Argentina in the final wasn't the most dominant, the most beautiful team. But football, lately the recipe for success at the highest level hasn't always been about being the most beautiful. Combining beauty, consistency, offense, technique, dominance, and a final's the hardest thing. There aren't many who manage it. And in fact, Spain, whether it was back in the days of the great Barca, or now with Luis Enrique and what he's done with PSG, Spanish football has been giving lessons lately. Because on the pitch, the Spanish players all share one thing: this technical, consistent footballing coherence. But that's not the scariest part. Look, it's very clean, top level, etc. But it's not like you've got a Yamal on one side. And to come back to Yamal, yes, I know a lot of people will look back at this match and say, yeah, but he didn't have his best game. True, it wasn't his best match, but a final like that demands more consistency than stubbornly forcing something you might not have pulled off. And whether we like it or not, maybe it wasn't his best match, true, but he's 19. Have you seen this kid's resume? Usually when people say the hardest part is still to come, but for him, I'd almost say the easiest part is still to come, and that's exactly what's going to make things hard, because he's already won everything that's hardest to win. That's it. All he's missing now is a Champions League and a Ballon d'Or. The game is basically over. I mean, in one season at 19, or the season he turns 20 or 21 or 22, he's going to fight to get, in a single season, a Champions League and a Ballon d'Or, and maybe he'll get the Ballon d'Or. I don't know. I think we're really in a situation where if Argentina had won, for me, it would have been no contest for Messi. But here, we're mixing a lot of things together because Yamal doesn't stand out individually the way this Spanish team's overall strength does. But in a way, when you win individually, and last year you were runner-up for the Ballon d'Or, there will still be voices wanting to honour you with the idea that you won, that you're a standout of this team. Anyway, we won't get too deep into the Ballon d'Or topic right now, we'll cover it another time, but Yamal has finished the game at the highest level. National team, club, he's already won 3 league titles, 3 Ligas. You've got to laugh, guys, you've got to laugh. It's insane, because we're not talking about players who won a bunch of stuff, but weren't the ones who actually changed the team. Yamal was key at the Euros, one of the key pieces of that team, and in the World Cup too. Well, maybe not the key piece, but he's the undisputed starter. And that's what shocks me. Before I get back to Argentina, this Spain team, when I tell you it's not even at its full potential, it didn't even need a Yamal at his best level. They didn't even have Nico Williams. And where we thought, if you lose those wide creators, this team becomes limited again. The team basically said, okay, no, sorry, that's not happening. Even without the wide players who destabilised defences, they still won. They beat a France team that many, and rightly so, could have imagined as one of the greatest, one with the potential to be among the greatest. Mbappé was right in his interview when he said that in the heat of the moment, everyone says everything, and afterward for some, suddenly the France team is worthless, even though they're still among the very best and could still hurt a lot of big teams. But a match is a match, and Spain is the team that gave itself the best chances, with consistency from defence through midfield to attack. And speaking of defence, we also have to talk about young Cubarsí, 19 years old, a maturity we've known from him for a while. But the everyone presses everyone system makes things more complicated, let's say, because you always have to be right on the attacker, chase him down, and that pushes you into mistakes, into fouls from the last defender. But the consistency we saw from Spain, Cubarsí at 19 is already at the highest level of precision. He's not the guy who fumbles his control, not the guy who misses his tackle. When everything around him is coherent, that's the highest level. When everything's coherent, he doesn't weaken any part of it, quite the opposite. And to think, not long ago I thought, that's it, he's going to take his spot, become an even bigger piece than Cubarsí and all that with the Saudi transfer talk. In the end, no. In the end, no. But you have to pair Cubarsí with that very mature player who has experience, who has composure. And he manages things the way Inigo Martinez does at Barca. For those who remember, Cubarsí isn't a problem, and Barca will honestly do just fine with him, because the young kid needs to be put forward. Personally, I'd make him the young player of the tournament. I don't know who actually won that award. I turned off the video before they even lifted the trophy. And Ferran Torres, folks. I hope you remember, I've respected this guy for a long time because some people only judge football by being strong. You know, there's the Messi, Ronaldo, that whole tier, and then there's the weak ones for some people. But you have to know what scale a player operates on and judge him on that scale. That's how I try to do it. And with Ferran Torres, I see his progression. And like I keep repeating, sometimes we need to stop feeling like we, sitting at home, are the ones who are right, and that the people actually involved, coaches, players, are the ones who are wrong. We judge from our bedrooms. If this guy's been playing alongside the biggest clubs, and lately has even had big starting roles, Barcelona, the Spain team, now wanted by Luis Enrique at PSG. I'm not saying he's Mbappé or Yamal, but just because he's not Mbappé doesn't mean he doesn't deserve respect. He brings real strength to the coherence of Spain's game. He's not a weak link for Spanish football, quite the opposite, his technical precision. Now sure, he's not the finisher, but there are plenty of good players who aren't the big finishers of the big moments. And today, well, he scores the World Cup final goal. But because his name is Ferran Torres, for some it'll be look, it'll be this, it'll be that. Respect Ferran Torres. I remember not long ago against Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey final, he's the one who set up the comeback when he dribbles past Courtois and someone scores off it. It's just that he's not Yamal, not Messi, not Cristiano, not Mbappé, but there's more to football than that. And some people wait for a bad match to say, see, he's useless, he can't play. Okay, fine, you think he's useless, but the Spain squad keeps calling him up. Maybe ask yourself, wait, what is he good at? What's his role? No, respect. I'm sorry, there are players who are just bad and you can tell right away. But Ferran Torres has real solid qualities. Now, sure, mentally, he's not the biggest presence at the highest level in certain moments, but the kid is developing. He's not old, he's still evolving. Now this Spain team, across the board, deserves it for me, for its footballing quality, for the merit of what it achieved, for its political courage back home too, for everything really. It's rare that everyone agrees. Merit, 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 merit. Now Argentina, I think it's really impressive they made it to the final, mentally speaking. I'll tell you, these guys are street smart. If it comes down to a shootout, for me, they're the ones who win it. They've got killer instincts, mentally speaking, understand the football metaphor. Obviously, these are guys you can't give an inch to, and Spain didn't give them an inch. They could have given them one at the end. On Simeone's kid's shot there, the coach's son. If he strikes it well, he wins it on penalties. Watch out with teams like that. They're not the strongest, but you have to actually kill them off, finish them. Look, they scored a goal, it got disallowed, everything. They're never dead. Not dead until the very last second, and then suddenly you're through. Now, they've also got a nearly 37-year-old Messi, and in tough moments, well, you know it's on him, and that in itself is a bit of an admission of limits elsewhere on the team. So Messi being Messi, in a way, I get it. A lot of people also say, yeah, but Julian Alvarez only played I don't know how many minutes in this World Cup. Same as Dybala back in the day, or whoever, it's the Messi profile. Are you really going to bench Messi when he's the one carrying the whole team? Just because he doesn't run as much doesn't mean he's done, we get that. But still, it's impressive. A second final, for me, that was completely unexpected. I didn't see them going this far. I think in terms of raw quality, they're not the strongest team, but they're the ones with experience, with mentality. Football is partly about that, because there's no merit without a result, without victory. They could have pulled off a heist, but what would take away the merit of that heist? The fact they didn't dominate. They lost 1-0, and bravo to them, whether you love them or not. Yeah, in the end, nobody toyed with Spain. Now I'm mounting one of my usual pressure campaigns on Madrid guys, trying to understand the reasons behind the Rodri stalemate. There's something there. Why for now it's not happening, even though anything is always possible. But anything is possible only applies to the current situation. At some point, a World Cup champion who wants to come to you changes things. You know, in reality, Rodri today would be more important to bring in than Mbappé. Though, then again, our fandom, which isn't always objective, would say, well, actually Mbappé is insane. But at real, Rodri would change the identity of the team. With the signings you've made, everything you've done, bringing in Rodri changes things, you know. It's like when we say Cruz left, well, for me, bringing in someone like Rodri is how you make up for losing someone like Cruz. It's a professional mistake not to bring in Rodri if he might want to come. And don't tell me about the Ballon d'Or thing, the singing about Vinicius or whatever. That's kid stuff. Bringing him in puts your club back on the right track. How many Marcelo-Cristiano conflicts were there before Cristiano even arrived at Real? That stuff already existed. They nearly split up over it or whatever. But no, this Argentina wants to play a bit of a street game in that final. They tried to sit back defensively, go the distance, go the distance, go the distance. It was hard to kill them off because on penalties, they'd have gotten Spain. I'm 80% convinced that in a shootout, Spain would go in mentally already beaten. We couldn't finish them off. And Argentina, the whole match, was thinking, at some point we can kill this. Fully ready for that moment, Martinez included, honestly. That Spain would have beaten Argentina on penalties, I don't buy that scenario where everyone's ready for the moment nobody sees coming. That's the only path they had left. But no, huge respect for how it came down to those final deflections, those last touches from Spain. Bravo. I wonder who got best player, best goalkeeper. Logically, you give it to Unai Simon. I'm sorry, he only conceded 1 goal. Sure, that doesn't mean he made a ton of saves and all that. But for me, you give it to Unai Simon. Though honestly, in my head, sometimes we forget to give it to the boring guy. And often the trophy goes to whoever gets more attention. Best player, I don't know who it is. Best young player, I don't know. Mbappé, by the way, top scorer of this World Cup and top scorer in World Cup history. And a second best goal or something in this running. People will say, sure, but it's just goals. True, but individually, it does highlight something notable that everyone already knows. But yeah, with this Spain, all you can do is applaud. All you can really say is, sure, a final isn't always the most beautiful game, but it's like Inter versus City. Finals are rarely beautiful. That's just how it is. It's not because we haven't seen crazy ones. The best finals are when there are goals early, because the other team is forced to take risks. But when it's 0-0, nobody's taking wild risks. They're not there for our entertainment. Only the purists watch it thinking, who's going to control it? Who's going to take the first risk? And when there's a dominant team, naturally there's another team defending. So until that first goal, or unless it's the final minutes, fine. So a final is rarely a huge spectacle. Either it explodes like the last France-Argentina final, because France conceded quickly and basically didn't exist in the first half. So in the second half, they had no choice. And Argentina, having led too early, instinctively started sitting back. Spain did the same near the end, pulled back a little in the closing minutes because you're forced to. The whole other team has nothing left to lose. They're throwing everyone forward. If you don't drop back, they basically get a numerical advantage. They've got nothing left to lose. But no, this Spain team, I say it's not the greatest ever. That's the crazy part. It's not the greatest team. But over the course of the tournament, the management was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And for me, Rodri, I could easily name him player of the tournament. No shame in that. The Rodri I'm seeing now, and let me be clear, I'm not saying he's better than the Rodri from before. That's not it. But he deserves it more than the Rodri from before. For me, at the Euros, when he won player of the tournament, some people think I have something against him. No, that's not it. For me, it's about being accurate. At Euro 2024, Fabian Ruiz had the better tournament. In my opinion, I'll say it, I stand by it. It's just that his name doesn't carry the same weight. But Rodri also had a very good tournament, don't get me wrong. But here, the boss of this Spain team, I see it resting on Rodri's shoulders. The backbone, the Pirlo of the team, except more physical, more of a rock, not the lean, delicate type. If you bring him back to Real, that Real changes dimension entirely. You go back to a genuinely competitive Real, like in the Cruz era. Of course, you need to look at the other individual pieces too, but in terms of controlling the ball, even Camavinga next to him would go back to being the Camavinga we know. In his real role, his real profile, you'd have the ball carrier, the balancer. Anyway, yeah, this version of Rodri, exceptional. Now, I'm not saying Rodri wins the Ballon d'Or or anything. I honestly don't know. Even Dembélé could pick up votes. But does having a supporting role at a World Cup cost you votes mentally in a voter's mind? That's what I wonder. I don't know. But in this World Cup, even Mbappé is going to rack up points because between the World Cup and his individual season, he's top scorer in League One, top scorer in the Champions League, top scorer at the World Cup, all-time top scorer in World Cup history. If we go with the idea that there's always one standout name among the winners, Rodri, Mbappé, Messi, Yamal too, since he's also a winner of this World Cup, those are the names that will come up. Now, like I said, if Dembélé gets votes, that doesn't bother me, but I think being in a supporting role for the national team in a big competition like the World Cup makes people forget. Not me, but a lot of people. It's like how Vitinha's season, his Champions League and everything, will get overshadowed by many because of the World Cup happening right after. But that's going to be a whole other fascinating debate because, and this is rare for me, I genuinely have no strong pick for the Ballon d'Or this year. None at all. A lot of players have arguments, but very few have the arguments of I won everything individually and I was the one who carried it. You look at Messi, he's got arguments. Messi will get votes, but he loses this final. Yamal doesn't have the individual Yamal moment specifically, but he has the trophies, well, the World Cup trophy. Rodri is the boss of the team that won the World Cup. Mbappé is the individual standout racking up records, but without the trophies. Dembélé and Ousmane, Champions League. Dembélé elected Champions League Player of the Season. It's genuinely fascinating how everyone's got their own case, and we'll see if it plays out more as politics or as merit, but that's for another time. And on Argentina, regarding Enzo Fernández foul, a lot of people are saying, yeah, that was a dumb thing to do. But don't forget Argentina was desperate for anything by that point. And if on that play Enzo Fernández holds back just a little, Cubarsí actually played it very smartly, because if you notice, at the start he turns to check that no one's behind him and he's forced to commit fully to the challenge. If he goes in half-heartedly, Enzo Fernández has a real chance of getting the favourable rebound, and then it's a one-on-one with the keeper. I see a lot of people jumping to people are stupid, we're smart. I don't like that attitude. Enzo Fernández wasn't wrong to commit fully to that challenge, because by a hair, either he gets to the ball first, Maybe Cubarsí is late and gives away the foul. Maybe even a red card. Or Cubarsí gets the favourable outcome if he wins the ball cleanly and it deflects off him. Either way, you don't have time to think through the consequences when you're already chasing a ball that could win you the World Cup. So that red card, while second yellow, was deserved, but it wasn't a dumb decision on his part either. It was coherent to commit fully to the play. It's just that both players committed fully, and Cubarsí got there first, then did a little front flip afterward, and yeah. Obviously, we'll come back to a lot of questions tied to this World Cup, to a lot of players. Stay with me, guys. Thanks to everyone supporting the links in the description with Ollie. For now, you can keep supporting. It really means a lot. It's the channel's only current partner, let's say, for now. And thanks for everything. I hope you had a great World Cup. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. In the comments, vamos España, España, Spanish football right now. Take care of yourselves, guys, and peace be with you. Yeah.